So hello, this is a screencast for how to do a basic HTML page. It's part one. And what we're going to do is we're just going to set up the simple page. And what I've done is I've opened up my text editor to a plain file, an untitled file. And I'm going to go up to the File menu and I'm going to click Save. First thing I want to do is I want to save this file. And I'm going to call this file Home. And I'm going to call the file home.html. As we discussed in class, home.html tells the browser that it is a web page. I'm going to go into the Documents folder, into a folder called Student Website. So it's the Documents folder, Student Website, home.html. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is not checked. Sometimes on a Mac this is checked. Now you can repeat this process on a Windows machine just to use Notepad and call it home.html. And for argument's sake, we're going to use the word home. Click Save, and so far, nothing's there. As a matter of fact, the way this is going to work, as you remember from class, browsers just read web pages. They read web page files, HTML files. You'll see that it's actually called a Chrome file because that's what my machine's set to do. I'm going to go to File, Open File, and I'm going to go to the Student Website folder, to this little file called Home. I'm going to open it up. And I have absolutely nothing, but this is this. Now, there is a possibility that I could actually just throw text into this and have it come out here, but that we need to do a little bit more than that for this to work. First thing we have to remember is everything that gets added has to be subtracted. So it has to be closed, rather. Everything I open is closed. So the first thing we do is we tell the browser that it is an HTML page. So I'm going to open a tag and type in HTML, tell it it's an HTML page. Hit a couple of returns, and I'm going to type /HTML and hit return. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit on this so you can see it a little bit more. And then I'm going to refresh the page. So far, nothing. So I haven't actually told it any content. Now, as we talked about, pages have heads and bodies. So we're going to give it a head. And we'll do that by saying HEAD. And then we're going to close the header section with that. So that's where the head starts and ends. And then I'm going to give myself a little bit more room. I'm going to call this body. I'm going to close the body section. So now as I look at my HTML page, I know everything that belongs in the header goes here, and everything that belongs in the body goes here. Now, what goes in the head? Well, in the head here is, just like in your body, the head does all your thinking for you. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it what's called the meta information. It's not the information on the page, it's the information about the page. So I'm going to type in a title. And I'm going to call this my first web page. And then I'm going to close the title tag. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to refresh the page. And nothing here because I haven't given it anything in the body. Everything in the body goes here, but this thing called title goes up here. So you'll notice this now says my first web page. If I call it my first page, and I save it, and I change it here, you'll notice that it changes to my first page. I'm actually going to go back to my first web page, because I just like that a little bit better. Next, I'm going to give it two very simple things. I have to put the next thing down in the body. Now I'm going to put in something called a paragraph tag. I'm going to actually tell it to put in some regular text. The regular text is put in this with a paragraph tag. So I'm going to open up a paragraph tag with a P. Whoops, made a mistake. P, there you go. And I'm going to call it this is a paragraph. Period. And I'm going to close it, save it, go over here. There you go. This is a paragraph. So we'll put the content in at the paragraph level. Now, what does that mean? Well, with a web page, everything gets its own text tag. Remember that text in a web page is determined by the tags that come with it. So I'm going to show you the next most important thing to complete this exercise, and that is the header tag. So if I type in a header tag, and I'm going to give it a H1, H1 is the biggest header that there is. And I'm going to say this is a heading. I'm going to close it. I'm going to save it and refresh it. And there we go. So this heading showed up here. And that's one of the things that you can absolutely do. Now, this H1 is the biggest. As you remember from class, H1 through H6 is how this works. So you can go from H1 is the biggest, H2 is a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change it to H2. Now watch what happens when I refresh this page. It gets a little bit smaller. I went to H3. It would again be a little bit smaller. So right now that is how this browser handles this web page. I'm going back to H1. I want you to set this page up, and this is home part 1. There'll be other parts to finish this project, but that is absolutely part 1. I hope that helps, and thank you for watching.